Hey guys, Damien here. As I continue to interview the top MSPs in the world, one thing has become incredibly clear. It's time that we let go. Even more than that, every time I focus on my zone of genius and get out of the way and do the very few things I'm good at and delegate to others, I'm ready for that next level of growth. One way that I could help you is with Servosity. We co-manage your backups and disaster recovery so you can focus on what you do best, let us do the rest, and then what we do is we test the backups every single day so you never have to worry. If you'd like to engage us or just learn more, click the link below.
Invest in understanding the vertical. We're proactive about meeting with CFOs, collaborating with them, collaborating with the regulatory bodies that exist out there, understanding how regulations are changing, understanding how operational due diligence is changing. And that's an investment that I don't think that firms that are in this industry make.
Hey guys, Damien Stevens, host of MSP Mindset, founder and CEO of Servosity. Today, I'm joined by Vinod Paul, and he managed to build his prior MSP from 75 employees to nearly 375. What's more is his current MSP is in the top 50, and he's managed to pull that off without a single dime of institutional capital, nor any acquisition. If you'd like to learn about how Vinod did this and how you can do it for your MSP, don't miss out on our conversation today. I'd love for you to share. You kind of joined in an interesting way. So tell me when you joined Align and what your mission was with joining.
Yes, absolutely. So I've been fortunate. I've been working in the alternative investment space as a vertical for over 30 years. In addition to that,
break that down if I don't know what the heck alternative investments means.
Yeah, so alternative investments means the majority of our clients, about 85% of them, are registered investment advisors. So you hear about private equity firms, hedge funds, broker-dealers. All these organizations have regulation around how they have to, create their daily processes. All instant communication, including email and instant messaging, is archived. It's a unique niche where they go through a lot of operational due diligence, and most of those firms also have a lot of regulatory requirements that they need to achieve. So we found that space was interesting to us because how do you achieve all of that? It's leveraging a managed service provider like Align, and we were fortunate enough to 8 years ago when I joined Align, make the decision. And up until that point, to give you a background of how I joined Align, I've known our CEO for over 20 years, and we've always had a great relationship. And he said, "Hey, whenever you're exiting your former firm, let's have a discussion." So we had a discussion fairly quickly after I exited my last organization, and we talked about the vision of what we could do with this managed service provider. Up until that point, Align had serviced many financial service firms, but we also had some clients in healthcare as well as out of the vertical. So some marketing companies, a couple of nonprofits. And one of the big challenges with servicing so many different domains is the fact that you can't keep a standard. So, for example, nonprofits have certain accounting systems and vastly different from what a traditional registered investment advisor has. So we made the decision at that point, let's put in a support model that supports the alternative financial services industry. It was painful because we did tell some clients that they were no longer a fit. We ended those in a mature way, and they understood what we were trying to achieve. And over the last 8 years, we've had tremendous growth. So if you look at where we are in the MSP landscape, there's three types of verticals that MSPs follow. One is just the generalist. That MSP will take on any client anywhere. The second strategy is geographic. So be in the Northeast and just bring on as many clients as possible. Same thing, any kind of client. And then there's firms like us, which I'm a big believer that it allows us the biggest return on the reward of working hard and supporting one model. We always say we configure our model, but we're close to standards in our model. And fast forward to today, the math has worked. So we've risen in the MSP 501 list. Just this past year, we were recognized as number 31 on the MSP 501. In addition to that, last year we were really excited to be recognized as the top MSP of the year. And this year, once again, back to back, we were recognized as the top MSP of the year. And these are awards that, the Channel Futures Informa is talking to our client base. They're looking at our economics, and it's an award that you can't buy, which we're very proud of.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What's unusual to me is maybe go back a little bit about the kind of growth you were driving at the firm before you joined the MSP.
Sure. So the firm before this is a well-known MSP. And when I joined that organization, also very focused in on the alternative investment space, financial services, that organization was an organization that had about 75 employees. But when I walked in the door, originally back, if you rewind, going back 14 years before I started here, there weren't many cloud providers. In fact, it was selling servers, configuring servers, and a support model was around hours-based support. And myself and the management team saw the opportunity to create, leverage the private cloud to offer a per user per month model. And we were able to do that successfully. And during my career there, I was able to essentially be a part of opening up their UK office, their Singapore office, their Hong Kong office. And it exposed me to different kinds of individuals, different cultures. But most importantly, all of them had the common thread of they wanted great support, 24/7 support, high availability, and a great customer experience. So I spent the majority of my career there, the 14 years, running service delivery as well as business development. And it was a fortunate experience that I got to learn how to put together that model. And if you look at where I am now, I'm very proud of Align was one of the first managed service providers to completely leverage the Microsoft public cloud to deliver their system. So I walked in the door here and we made the decision as a group that we're going to close down the cloud offering, the private cloud offering, and be able to deliver all of our services leveraging the Microsoft public cloud and Azure. So we do have many clients that have servers. We run them in Microsoft Azure.
Yeah, so from your other company, going from private cloud to this one, public cloud, that's still cloud, but in a lot of ways, kind of a 180.
It was, and I was a big believer, and so was the rest of the management team here, that the public cloud was the future, just in terms of the redundancy that the public cloud offers you, and you're able to bring down your COGS. And we leveraged those principles, became experts in the public cloud. Of course, our clients want highly available systems, disaster recovery, business continuity, as well as multiple backups during the day. And all of them are archiving their data from instant messaging and email and Teams messaging side. And we've been able to create a very nice per user per month model.
Make it simple, make it predictable. How much of the world has changed to where you feel like you can run a similar playbook? It's somewhat going to be the same, right? I imagine that you learned a lot of lessons about people and cultures that might remain the same, but how much of the world's changed to where you feel like it's entirely different this time around?
So I really believe the biggest lesson that I learned in my previous life and working at different MSPs, I worked at a big professional services IT company that was located in the trade center. I was fortunate enough to take all the little pieces of learnings from each of those organizations. But the biggest change is that we no longer have to solve problems with labor. And that was my biggest challenge, when I was going through hypergrowth at my last organizations, a couple of organizations, where you bring on a new client and sometimes you have to hire one employee. We've been very good. We have a formula where we can handle the growth, but we're more concentrated on systems, configurations. Not being everything to everyone is, I think, very important for a firm like us to scale. And, that decision has absolutely been the best decision that we made. We can deliver all the services. We have Microsoft Azure. We have file services. We have full disaster recovery. We're backing up data multiple times a day. We can run anything from an order management system to an accounting platform. We can work within the ecosystem of outsourced CFOs, COOs. We can work with fund administrators. We work really well with SaaS applications because the world is moving SaaS, and we could do things securely by setting up single sign-on. So for us, it's about the customer experience. We focused in on the customer experience, and it's paid dividends.
So you mentioned public cloud, but you also mentioned automation. So was that around the same time, or was that later that you decided to bet big on automation?
No, it was around the same time because what I learned at my last organization was, and even before that was that, you take on different applications or clients that have different quote unquote cloud providers and configurations. If someone comes to us and says, I want to be in the Google cloud or I want to use Amazon, we wish them well, but it's not a good fit for us because we want to deliver a standard-based, highly safe, highly redundant ecosystem for our client base. And that decision has absolutely been the best for us because it allows us to leverage automation. So, for example, for many of our clients, we're delivering cybersecurity services. And with the threat landscape that exists out there, for us, we need to leverage that threat landscape to keep our clients as safe as possible, as quickly as possible. For many of our clients, we're their outsourced help desk, we're their outsourced NOC. We have a partner that we leverage for the outsourced SOC, Security Operations Center. And automation has been important to us because it allows us to react very quickly, no matter what time of day it is. And, anyone who says they'll never have an issue is lying to you, right?
Yeah.
We say, it's how do we handle those issues, right? You have an employee that clicks something they shouldn't. How is the line equipped to be able to handle that?
So you say automation, I hear what most MSPs do, which is configure a few things in their RMM to, alert you when you're out of disk space or maybe empty the trash bin, fairly fundamental. What does automation mean to you?
Yes, for us, when we say the Line IT Suite, which is our platform, you need to adhere to the suite, which means that you often hear, "Hey, I'm starting out in a financial services firm. Can I go with a light version of your IT support?" And for us, that isn't. It's too much risk for our client base, most especially, and too much risk for us. So when a client is working with us, we want to keep them as safe as possible, have a highly redundant organization, and so everything from backup to high redundancy to tertiary backup to ensuring that all of their single sign-on systems all work in hand to each other in a secure manner. From a cybersecurity standpoint, we are monitoring not only the cloud ecosystem, so Microsoft 365, we're also monitoring the endpoints, the servers, the user identities, dark web monitoring. We have a SIM that's included. We have 1 year log retention, and we've been able to achieve a per user per month offering for us.
With all that baked in, does that make you I think some people see automation as a way to drive costs down, which obviously there's an efficiency aspect. But I'm curious, does that make you like the cheapest in the industry, or because you bake in so much, are you kind of positioned as a premium or super premium?
Yeah, I would say that we're not the cheapest, right? Because we're not a commodity. We're big believers that we're not a commodity. We offer great value. I would say we're premium because our ecosystem allows our clients to have a premium ecosystem for themselves. When our clients are going through investor due diligence or regulatory examinations, that's going perfectly for them because they haven't cut any corners. And for us, automation is not a way to keep costs down. I've seen other managed service providers outsource everything out of country, and the customer experience hasn't been the same. And for us, we believe that with automation, it will enable us to deliver better service for our client base.
Gotcha. So being that you're, number 31 on the list, what do you attribute to this, rapid growth that you've been able to achieve and maintain?
So our industry is very unique where, the customer experience is absolutely shared among customers. So our client retention is one of the highest in the industry. And that's because we've been able to deliver that great customer experience. So when a firm is starting out or they're looking to replace their managed service provider, we've been fortunate to be one of the leaders where they say, okay, we hear about Align. It's most of their customers are very happy. Give us the opportunity to meet with them and look into them to replace our managed service provider. And so for us, the big differentiator is working in this industry. Absolutely, the vertical was a key decision we made. Working in the Microsoft ecosystem was the right decision for us, and also delivering a predictable per user per month model.
So there's at least two, maybe three, what I would call niche, right? You niche within the vertical of the alternative asset industry, and you have a niche within. You'll turn away anybody that's not going to be in the Microsoft stack and public cloud, your preferred stack. If I understand that.
Fortunately, the majority of our clients understand the value of the Microsoft public cloud, and there are, of course, some that want to be in Amazon Web Services and may not be a good fit, or they'll manage that instance. It's either or, but we won't manage that. I would tell you also another interesting niche that rose for us is that there are many service providers within the financial services industry, firms that do outsource CFO, COO, firms that do fund administration, law firms. And for them, they're not regulated, but they need to have the same controls as their clients because, they, God forbid, they don't want to ever have a security event or have a data breach because they would have to disclose to their clients, would have to disclose it to the regulatory bodies and clients.
Yeah, that wouldn't age or travel well within the industry.
And that's it's been interesting for us because Align has become well known as the top service provider for service providers, top MSP for service providers. So we have now over 75 service providers that we support on our Align IT suite.
So service providers meaning law firms or CFO firms or those?
Yeah, fund administrators, kind of you name it, anyone in the ecosystem, compliance firms, outsourced CFO, COO firms.
Okay. So we've talked so much about the amazing growth. I'm sure it's not always been up and to the right. What are some of the unique challenges you've run into? Yeah,
absolutely. So, it was not easy to come in here and have those discussions with the clients to tell them, walked in the door eight years ago and said, hey, here are the decisions we're making. We're going to leverage the ConnectWise ecosystem. We were using ServiceNow. We're going to use the complete Microsoft ecosystem. We're only going to service the vertical. So it was some tough decisions. And no one wants to be the first, right? So we built some great relationships. We did some testing with some of the first clients, showed them the unique offering that we've had and built. This is 8 years ago, and it's been a snowball effect for us since. But the first year, 2 years, was absolutely difficult because we had to unwind contracts. We had to architect a new offering. We had to put in new systems to support the new offering. So all of those things took hard work, sweat equity. And, fortunately, I work with an incredible team here. We are a Microsoft Tier 1 cloud solutions provider. And I not only have specialists in the Microsoft ecosystem, and I also have, just as important, specialists in the industry. And that's important because our clients go through a lot of operational due diligence. I'm confident that any one of my staff could get on those calls and explain very well that, these are all the controls we have in place. This is how we keep our clients safe.
So like anything you're saying, it takes time to make that change, this couple of years. Did you know from experience before that it would take that long? Or I know sometimes even when I believe it's the right decision, 6 months in, I'm wondering, are we there yet? How is this the right decision?
I did. Fortunately, we had a management team here that supported us, and they understood the value of creating this model. they also understood that we can, get the service delivery model to scale. And up until that point, I would say that it was challenging scaling because you were supporting every organization, every type of organization, highly labor intensive. We were using a PSA that wasn't really the best PSA for us, and all those decisions together, they started to see within the first year I think the promise of a great model. And if you fast forward today, everyone's of course been big believers, right? So we've had great support for the management team. Part of my decision to come here to Align was the fact that I knew our CEO for 20 years. And that's very important to me, to have someone that I can collaborate with and create a long-standing model.
Yeah, that's hard to replicate.
It is.
That long-term relationship.
It is.
What about your existing clients that you didn't transition away, that you did keep? I imagine there had to be a lot of outside of Microsoft or on-premise servers or other things that you really needed to transition. So was there a drop dead date, or how did you handle
That's really a great question. So if you think about the existing clients that stayed with us, we had to re-onboard them. So figure the first year we were getting everything set up, doing the PSA upgrade, doing all of that. Then we were ready to go to them and say, hey, listen, here are the benefits of going to this new platform. Some of them didn't want to change. Some had CTOs and the directors of technology that didn't like change. But we had to go through efforts to explain to them the benefits of that. And once we did, now all of them have fully migrated. And that happened very quickly in the first 2 or 3 years for all the clients.
Yeah. I hear you say very quickly, and then I hear you say 2 or 3 years, and I go, I'm impatient. Like that's. I understand things take time, but what was the vision that enabled you and your management team and the rest of your team and the clients to buy in? Because people want results. They want short term. So you've got to have a vision that's big enough for that to fit within.
What's the benefit of a reoccurring revenue model, right? It's easy to sell internally, and the management team understood it. But it's also really easy to sell to our client base because they have predictable IT. And, we don't nickel and dime our clients. We give them an all-inclusive per month per user fee. And for them, their biggest complaints, many of the takeaways that we did was they'd say, 1 month my IT costs are X. The next month it's X plus 1 plus 7, and a lot of frustration grows with that for an inferior customer service experience. And we were fortunate to be able to deliver a good customer experience with a predictable IT model.
Was that part of the vision that you cast, or I guess I'm curious, like what was because to take 2 or 3 years, your team's re-onboarding everybody, things have to be architected. Of course, there's hardware lifecycle involved. Everybody has to buy in on a vision because 18 months into lots of real work and real investment, right? New PSA, new training. Like, I think it's too many of us as business owners, MSPs, we cast a vision, but if it doesn't work in 3 months or 6, we're ready to cast a new one.
So we were fortunate that our entire management team here bought into the vision. And I was fortunate that many of the key leaders here, leadership, worked at other managed service providers, and they saw what I was able to achieve in my previous organization. So everyone bought in. So that wasn't the challenge, right? It's executing. And, a lot of hard sweat. Excuse me, I'm fighting a cold. A lot of sweat equity and a lot of hard work and a lot of innovation. So, and I'm a big one that if you can bring innovation to the table, great, we will embrace that. So, just because something's been done the same way 10 times doesn't mean it can't be done better another way. And we were able to also go through constant innovation, and that's a big principle for us through even today, innovation. So our client base that's on the Microsoft stack, they're constantly getting innovation. If Microsoft has a new security feature or a new way to protect them, or be it a new feature, like this year, a big one was Copilot. We were the first managed service provider in this industry to be able to deliver Copilot to our clients the first day it came out. And, the clients really appreciate it. But take it a step further, they were able to do it in a secure manner where they're not sending out information outside the ecosystem.
Yeah, obviously. That's really interesting because I think of highly regulated industries as laggards because usually it takes longer to get the security and the compliance and the other things. So to be able to roll out Copilot the day it was available is a great unique example, but it's the antithesis of what I think when I think of highly regulated industry.
Yeah, I will tell you, right, that our client base has matured, right? If you think about the first clients I dealt with 20, 30 years ago, they didn't understand disaster recovery. They didn't understand uptime. Where the new fund manager, the profile of the new employee at a hedge fund, they understand technology. They want to enable technology to make them better, to make them more secure. We were able to demonstrate to our client base that, hey, Copilot is a new feature. We're going to be testing with you, collaborating with you, but we're going to set it up in a way that's secure so that you're not sending out your information into the Microsoft ecosystem. It's just going to leverage your ecosystem.
So you've driven all this growth, but have you taken institutional capital to drive the growth?
We have not. And we've been fortunate that, interesting enough, because we're in the private equity space,
Right.
we even have a couple clients that own managed service providers. And as you can imagine, just the positive reputation that Align has and the growth that we've experienced moving up to 31, we've had a lot of discussions where firms come to us and say, we'd love to, and make an investment to you. But one thing that Align has done since inception, we've never taken outside capital. And we've been able to grow organically, which has been great for us. So if you look at us today, because of the scalable product that we've built, we have users and clients across 23 states and 21 countries. We're 24/7 operation, and we're able to give a support model that has enabled us to grow organically.
Yeah. So can you give us any sense of, since you've been there, the kind of growth?
Yeah.
What that might look like?
We're 210 total employees today. And I can't disclose any revenue, but we've been able to sustain good revenue growth without sacrificing service delivery or the IT suite itself or any of the other success factors of our product.
So for other MSP owners, let's say they are listening and they say, you know what, I don't think that's the right vertical, but I believe in what Vinod's saying. I'm going to go into this vertical, some vertical within healthcare or some other. What are some of the lessons that you've learned that people should be thinking about as they try to apply a similar mindset?
I would tell you, we make an investment in understanding our vertical. So I'm a big believer that you can be successful in other verticals, right? For us, just my expertise and the management team here, everyone's expertise was in financial services. So it was an easy decision for us. But I know colleagues in the space that work in the law firm vertical or in the healthcare vertical. I think the biggest takeaway, in my personal opinion, is invest in understanding the vertical. So we're proactive about meeting with CFOs, collaborating with them, collaborating with the regulatory bodies that exist out there, understanding how regulations are changing, understanding how operational due diligence is changing. And that's an investment that I don't think that some of my firms that are in this industry make. We've been fortunate to really invest in that and understand the whole ecosystem. We're constantly going through learnings where our individuals have become product specialists, so they understand the ecosystem quite a bit. So I would tell you, absolutely, you can grow in the ecosystem. You can grow in a vertical, but you have to make an investment in that vertical.
So how do you recommend you actually do that? Is that talking to your existing clients? Is that going to trade shows? Is it something else?
I think step one is absolutely talking to the client base, right? Make them your partner. Show them how this partnership is a win-win for both organizations. Fortunately, we work with a good person. We have at least 30 directors of IT or CTOs that we work with, collaborate, and we're collaborating with them, right? So they're sharing some of the things that they're learning as managing risk in their organizations and sharing that with us. And they're leveraging us as an extension of their organization. So absolutely meet with the C level at your client base, and they'll help architect the right solution for you and your client base.
Gotcha. So it may have been a while, but I'm kind of curious. I think you did start. I want to ask, as a kind of a technologist, do you see yourself as a more of a team builder to still a technologist that tries to keep your hand on the technology pulse, or where do you see yourself there?
Yeah. So once upon a time, when I started in right after school, I was fortunate to work for an organization that day one came to me and said, "Hey, AT&T is going to split their business into Lucent Technologies," and they said, "You're going to be part of that team." And I was very green, absolutely. But I then spent the next 3 years of my career at Lucent Technologies, getting my hands dirty, understanding mail migrations, understanding server migrations. So I'm a big believer that I think that was one of the success factors that personally enabled me to understand the engineering mindset. I always say this to some of our colleagues that, engineers engineer, right? One of the reasons that I've been successful, as well as the management team here, has been that we've understood the commercial value of what we've created. So it's not just, an engineer can go and say, "Oh, we have the best cog, the best widget, disaster recovery, highest uptime." But it's hard to get that message across to a CFO or a COO. But what we've been able to understand is the commercial value of our product, why it will enable them for success. And so, I would say absolutely having that foundation as an engineer absolutely helped me be successful. I then became a project manager, then ran the local office, and was able to grow my career from there at Escast Integration. ECI. So when I joined that organization, we were roughly 70-ish employees, and during my tenure there, the organization had tremendous growth and almost got to 375 employees.
So you guys have grown without capital and you've grown organically. Those are two different things, but very hard to do both and still grow as fast as you guys have. Is this going to force your hand to make acquisitions or take outside investment and not be quote unquote left behind or in some other less advantaged state?
I don't think so. So I'm a big believer that we've built the solution to scale. And it's not highly labor intensive. I don't have to hire one employee for every client that we bring on. We have high levels of service delivery. The clients are very happy with us. And so I think it's a scalable business model, and I think we can do it without bringing on capital. I believe that. If we want to go to another vertical, that's another story, right? But in our foreseeable future, that's not something that we're looking to achieve.
On that note, I think there's as much excitement as there is fear amongst the MSP industry. Am I going to be, if there's 300 MSPs in my metro area, are there going to be 3? And I'm going to be, 3 super MSPs or 2 or 1? And am I going to be left out? So what's your advice to others of, I think some feel like it's, I either get acquired or do acquiring and there's no other path.
So I think even the client base understands that. So when we're bringing on a new prospect, one of the key questions that they ask us is getting acquired or acquiring someone in your immediate future. So I think that we have a highly educated industry and that they understand the market dynamics. I don't think it's a feverish, like, I have to make a decision now. You have to make the right decision for your organization, right? There are many lifestyle MSPs, I would tell you, and I think it's the right decision for those lifestyle MSPs to get acquired. Because if you're just doing it for a lifestyle to get it, to make that check and not grow actively, and those are organizations that I think should consider growing so that it could give value to their employee base and client base.
So does that mean the ones that are not necessarily lifestyle, but I don't know if you want to call them professional MSPs or however you want to label it, do you think there's still value in being a standalone?
I do. We're, I think, a very good example of that, right? We've become a highly successful standalone managed service provider. And our goal day one wasn't, let's get acquired in 10 years. We didn't build the business for that. We said, we got together and the whole management team said, let's build a great value product for our client base, and we'll have growth naturally. And it absolutely, that thesis worked.
So you came in, and some of the things the changes you made were going to take 2-3 years to really change the clients around. See, probably had to do with hardware lifecycle, client contract cycles, all sorts of other things. Mm-hmm. What planning period or vision, like how far are you guys planning in terms of vision? Because I think most people, it's an annual plan.
Yeah.
And a vision tends to follow that.
I've been fortunate that I have a much smarter than me management team, right? And, these guys are looking at innovation. And so twice a year, we bring the whole team together just to do strategy and talk about how we're going to grow over the next, year to 2 years to 3 years. And I think that's the most you could plan because technology changes too quickly.
Right.
And the individuals that we have in our management team, I think, are the smartest, brightest individuals. So they really understand our client base, and they're always coming to us saying, "Hey, I think that we could do backup this way versus that way." And it's an innovation discussion. It's not a cost discussion. It's to discuss how we could do it better for the client base. Mm. And a positive byproduct is that we can scale the business.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective since so many of your clients are private equity or other funds.
Yeah, hedge funds as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess as you've talked to them, have there been some lessons learned from their perspective? Because I do feel like there was kind of an early rush, and then now maybe there's a different a lens or what they're looking for has maybe evolved. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the key success factors for us is that every client has a dedicated client relationship manager, and it's a two-way discussion, right, when we're meeting with them. Ideally, we're meeting with them at least once a month, if not biweekly, and there are some that are larger that we meet on a weekly basis. And it's in those meetings that we create the best ideas, to create a lot of innovation, or come up with ideas to deliver our service in a better way. We're getting candid feedback from them of, hey, we'd like to see this in the client portal, or here's a new regulatory concern for us, or this is what we envision our next 12 months to be for growth for us, so how can we do it efficiently? So, the way that we interact with our clients, I think, is a positive. We don't punish the clients to talk to us. We actually encourage it.
Yeah. And have you seen their I'm sure maybe it's only a minority, but have you seen their attitude towards the MSP industry improve or change since?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that they've become much more educated than 30 years ago. Before, it was viewed as a commodity. IT was a commodity. A lot of times it was like, let me pick the cheapest one, or what's my friend using? Yeah. Where now that decision is a much more detailed requirements discussion. They're doing a lot of research on the industry, client retention, the client stack that we deliver. So I think it's a much more educated decision process for our client base that we've been able to deliver.
With your typical client, is this somebody that typically has a C-level in IT or a director level that you're doing? Kind of
so all of our clients, we definitely, a C-level is the one that we're interacting with. Mm-hmm. I would tell you at least 60-70% of them don't have technologists in-house, but they have a highly educated COO or CFO, and we're interacting with that person, an operations person, and the others have CTOs that we're actively involved with. So, I would tell you that the C-levels that we work with, they're not techs, but by any means, but they understand the industry requirements, their regulatory requirements. Some are chief compliance officers. They absolutely understand all of that.
Where do you think this will go? Do you think that it'll become the norm in your space to have CTO, CIO there, or maybe use you as a virtual version of CISO?
I think that very much will go to a virtual version. So if you looked at the industry, 20, 30 years ago, more hedge funds and private equity had CTOs or directors of technology. That's very much gone away. I think the complicated firms do, but it's much less now, that are leveraging a CTO because there's a high cost to that, right? And if you get a great CTO, you need to build a team. You don't want to build dependencies around one or two individuals. So I think that less and less of the industry is getting away from that. I think the larger firms are keeping that model, and that makes sense for them because they have a lot of technology in place, but the smaller ones, no.
Okay. Interesting. Speaking of things that change a lot, What are your thoughts on AI and specifically kind of when to engage or when to not engage with your clients?
So, if you look at the AI industry, it's rampant, right? If you think about it, we recently looked at all the different products across our client base and looked at where is AI being leveraged. If you think about it, 80-90% of the applications out there are using some form of AI. So we're big believers that it's here. It's not going to go away. How do we enable our clients to leverage AI successfully in a secure way, where you're not sending data outside of your ecosystem? And that's very much been our premise from day one. Do it the safe way. Don't use ChatGPT. Use Microsoft Copilot because it retains the information within your ecosystem.
I know you guys were the first to roll out Copilot, so that's pretty amazing considering the industry you serve.
Yeah.
Was there a ton of demand? Or
I think
being
there
a
was
regulated
more
industry
hype around it, but in the first month, I would tell you 10 clients leveraged it,
Oh, wow.
and a lot more now. But there was a lot of hype around it. I had a lot of users saying, "I want it, I want it, I want it," and then we share what the pricing is, and then someone wanted it a little bit less. I think that there's still excitement around it, but Copilot has to mature a little bit.
I'm curious where you think it is, where you think AI is now and your role in it. And what I mean by that is I feel like some MSPs are like, it's too early. Yeah. We're going to kind of wait and see. Others are saying, I'm going to at least walk with my client in this. And others are saying, now's the time. We should be leaning in and taking advantage of this as the next thing and the next frontier.
I would say we're walking with the clients, the existing client base, and then we have a team that's actively doing research on it. Okay. For our client base, everything that they do, they need to do securely and in a smart manner. So that's number one priority for us, delivering AI in a safe manner. I would tell you that at first, there was speak of, AI can replace a body or two. I don't think we're anywhere near that in the next 12 months. I think that it'll make individuals a lot more efficient, but it's not going to replace bodies in the next 12 months, at least, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of fear going on there. My take so far is that somebody using AI won't take your job, but somebody using AI will if you don't embrace it.
Exactly.
What about for you as an MSP? Do you see this as purely an opportunity or purely a threat, or how do you see it?
Yeah, not a threat. We think that it can help us make us more efficient. So, for example, our clients can Teams message us, and we still open up tickets and all of that. So AI, we're leveraging minor AI to groom the tickets properly, make sure it's categorized the right way. That's where it's making us more efficient. And we're still early on in testing all of that, but it's been we've been fortunate that it's helping us get more efficient.
So on that note, it seems like AI is the ultimate shiny object. It seems like you could invest an infinite amount of time or energy. You could put 1% of your staff, you could put 100% of your staff, and you still may not be done looking at all the possibilities and as fast as it changes. So
it's why we have those strategy meetings, right? What's the return on the investment, right?
Yeah.
I saw when AI first came out, we saw some companies feverishly say, we're AI, we have this product and that product and renaming Copilot. And that created a lot more false buzz, in my opinion, than, gave value to the clients.
Yeah. So based on your strategy meetings, how do you kind of think through how much do we lean in? Because there's some people that go, man, if I don't throw it all in now, I'm going to be left behind because you're investing. And then others are saying, it's too early to invest. It would be a waste. So
for us, every new product we look at goes through technology steering committee, and we approached AI the same exact way. We'll do the research, we'll look at the product, we'll approach it that way. But we're not burning down the house just to go all AI.
Yeah. Throwing out a good business model to figure out something brand new.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let me switch gears, Vinod. What's one of the biggest lessons you've learned across your entire career?
So at the end of the day, it's the customer experience, right? And that's what leads to client retention, new client acquisition. I think that if all of our employees understand that, and we've built a model that leverages a highly proactive and positive customer experience, that all the results will come. I mean, there's tons of things that I think of, but that's a fundamental principle that I think about. Like, how can we give a great customer experience to our client base?
How do you try to get that across? Because I don't think there's any MSP that says, let's deliver a bad one. I think most of them say, let's deliver a great experience. Mm-hmm. But how do you translate that to the client or to the team even?
Yeah. So I think we have to start with the team. And, I can tell you, if I pull anyone from the team aside and say, what's important to us? What are our principles? They will all talk about innovation. They'll talk about customer retention, new client acquisition. So they are understanding that. And that has a wave effect to new business. I always joke around with the help desk that, how many calls did you get today that someone called to say thank you and, everything's working great? None. They'll remember the bad experience. So how can we give them positive experiences? And so our CSAT score is very important to us. We monitor every client interaction, and that's been positive for us.
Mm. If there was one thing you could do over or do differently, what would that be?
So here at Align, I was blessed, right, but with the team that have collaborated with from day one. I think that if I were to do it over again, one of the big principles that I would spend more time with the management team is them understanding all the benefits. They understood, right? But they weren't involved in the managed service provider side of the business. And, we were able to, I think in the first 6 months, highly demonstrate to them, have them understand the industry, have them understand the product. So if I were to redo it again, that would be something that I'd spend more time doing.
Mm. Yeah. Alignment is often easier to say than do.
Yeah. But fast forward to today, we're all in, right? Everyone believes in the vision. They see the vision. They see the client base. Now they understand it very much.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. What's a myth about the industry that you'd love to see dispelled about the MSP industry?
Yeah, so, I would tell you a big myth is that everyone's making money. Yeah. So absolutely not, right? I get questions by private equity and saying, hey, we actually got to look at this business or that business, and we're just surprised how unprofitable they are. And so I think that's a myth, right? So, you could be a couple hundred people, but is your EBITDA high? Is your client satisfaction high? Mm-hmm. I think that's a myth that every single MSP is making lots of money and everyone's very happy with their MSP. I think that's untrue. It's why that more than 50% of the clients that we bring on in a typical year is takeaway business, because they're not happy. They don't think they're getting a good solution.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good point. Mm-hmm. Given all that's going on, your unique role and what you're doing, what's something that you're looking forward to, Vinod?
Yeah. So very much looking forward to continued innovation with our team. And for us, I'm a big believer that if we continue to innovate new products, new technologies, that the client base, they benefit from it. But, technology gets stale very quickly. And we've been fortunate that our employees understand that and our client base understands that. Just because you've been using, XYZ technology for 10 years doesn't mean it's the best. And we've been able to demonstrate to our client base that.
What gets you so excited about innovating?
So that innovation is directly passed on to the client base, right? So if you think about it, when we first put together the Line IT Suite, some of the Microsoft controls just didn't exist. Mm-hmm. And as they started coming out, better features with Microsoft E5, better things we can monitor, we were able to share it with our clients that, hey, you're just going to have this new feature. No increase in price. It's a better solution for you. And they get excited because they're like, oh, wow, my MSP is my partner. They're thinking about my future. They're part of the C-level. They want to collaborate with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Then being seen as a partner, especially at the C-level, is a huge differentiator. Mm-hmm. What's one book you would recommend to any other MSP owner?
So I'm a big believer that I didn't go to a book to figure out how to run the model here, But what I was highly exposed to was, if you think about the MSP community, I learned so much just collaborating at the Channel Futures conference, or if you think about the channel company, the the best place that I learn is talking to other C levels or presidents or CEOs, because they're sharing real world that, hey, this is a problem we encountered, or this is how we successfully navigated XYZ. And by far, that's been the best source of resources for me. It's definitely not a book. It's hearing the real world experience.
Yeah. So would you recommend that means you're talking with your clients, you're talking with your peers at a peer
With
group?
our peers as well, right? I think they're all just equally as important. So I think a common mistake that MSPs make are they won't invest equally in all those things. They'll sometimes talk to their clients a lot, but they won't talk to industry leaders, or they won't look at industry regulation changing, or they won't look at the vertical. So I think you need a balanced communication across the industry, across technologists, across other MSPs.
That's a really good point. And so for you, it's been the channel company and Channel Futures is where you've interacted
all
with
the if you think about the whole conference circuit, it's been my best source of innovation and ideas.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that I've interviewed yet that would say anything other than engage earlier, if they were to kind of think about it.
Solved it.
Well, for folks that enjoyed this or would love to reach out to you as a peer, et cetera, how should they find you online, Vinod?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn and happy to, I'm happy to talk to anyone, right? And, I think that one of the things that we could do together is collaborate. So, and I'm always careful when I say that because, I don't want to get a million sales calls.
Right.
I want to get individuals that are in the same situation as me that can collaborate with me. So happy to, best way is LinkedIn, Vinod Paul. I'm on LinkedIn, and then I can collaborate and connect with you and talk to you over there and set up times.
Yeah, make sure to take Vinod up on that amazing offer. And I really appreciate your time and the gift of showing up with all your wisdom and knowledge. And thank you for being on MSP Mindset, Vinod.
Great. Thank you, Damien. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely.